Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be discussing suspension. So kind of the main things, that the main variables of suspension are performance, middle ground, and show. So you got these three main categories that we're going to be talking about today. So one thing with let's start with show. So with show is usually your 7 to 8 inches lift, maybe 6 inches, 5 inches, just the really tall lifts with like 22s, 24s on a 35-inch tire or a 37-inch tire. If a lot of people don't even do 37s, so that's kind of where you're starting at. I don't know if you're kind of getting an example, but it's usually upper control arms, shocks, sway bars, stabilizer bar, whatever it's called, traction bars, blocks, things like that. Also, you will also have like this big ass block that goes under your lower, where your lower control arm bolts on, and that'll be where you bolt on your lower control arm. Now I think it's pretty stupid because you're losing like like ride whatever you call it, like distance between your truck and the floor. And honestly, it makes your truck ride like shit. Like, it isn't, you don't benefit anything from doing that. The key thing with that though would be that your truck looks cool. I can't lie, some of those trucks do look pretty cool with the big ass lift, but honestly I only like it on F250s or the 2500s, just the diesel versions of all the trucks, because they're like more bulkier, so they kind of, I feel like they support it better. But anyways, that's pretty much it for what you kind of need. I didn't do really too much research on what you need, because honestly, for show trucks, it's really simple to get into. Like, you don't need to do like a long process of researching exactly what you need. But that's kind of like what it is, like what you're sacrificing, what you're getting. But then you go to the middle ground where you're not sacrificing anything, and you're not paying like a large amount of money like most people do for performance or show. So with middle ground, you're not sacrificing anything pretty much. You're not wasting a lot of money. You're not losing the way your truck rides. You're gaining better ride quality. You're losing a little bit of ride quality, but it's still perfect. It's still good. You're gaining ride height, so you're taller. You look better. The truck looks better, of course. And you're not like sacrificing a lot for what you're getting. So you usually spend typically around $300 to $500, depending. You could even spend $100, $50, just for 2 to 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch level, depending on what you want. You can even do a 1 inch, half inch, 1.5 inch. They have every single type. But that's kind of like what you're paying. So you pay like $50 for some spacers up front. It's gonna ride exactly, pretty much exactly like stock, which you can't complain about stock, because stock is smooth. My dash truck just has a level on it, and it rides 10 times better than my full Raptor suspension after I spent over $2,500 on it. So that is some things to take into account, but it doesn't look as good as my truck, of course. But that's kind of something that you have to take into account. But am I making sense? Pretty much middle ground is my favorite, because you spend the least amount of money and your truck looks nice. So like, you're just good. Like, you don't need to do anything crazy, and it can perform off road. It looks good on the street. Like, what else do you need? Like, I don't think you need anything higher than a level. Like, my truck's leveled out and I'm on full suspension. But that's pretty much it for middle ground. You're not gonna be spending too much money. I feel like it's the best one for anybody in general. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's perfect because you're not spending a lot of money and you're keeping your ride quality. But also so that's pretty much it for middle ground. It's kind of simple what you need for it, because honestly, you don't even have to upgrade the rear shocks. You can pretty much just do the front shocks and you should be good. Or you don't even have to do the front shocks either. You can do just the level kit, like I said. Now we're moving into performance, which is the hardest one to get into, because there's little to no kind of information on how to get into it, what you need, and this, that. So pretty much what you need, right, It's pretty much what you need to do a Raptor conversion, like I've talked about so many times. Lower control arms, upper control arms, shock, um, axle if you're fucking 4-wheel drive. If you're 2-wheel drive, you'll need a knuckle, etc. Pretty much everything like that I said about a Raptor. For a Raptor conversion is what you need. But it does cost fucking $10 million more than a fucking Raptor swap. Just because of the fact that I don't know why they charge so much, because everything's manufactured themselves. But lower control arms, you're looking at $2,000 alone. Upper control arms, you're looking at $1,000 alone. Shocks for the front, you're looking at $15,000 to $10,000 for shocks, $1,500 to $10,000. For rear shocks, you're looking at $1,000 to $10,000 for the rear shocks. So it's like alone, just to get into it, like even when you go real beginner, you can't. If you're like a Chevy or Toyota, it's a little, you have an exception just because of everybody sells used shit for those. But if you're a Silverado, Ram, any brand that's not Ford and Toyota, you're gonna have to pay big money to get into it, just because you guys don't have a platform that already allows that. But obviously Toyota doesn't have that platform, but everybody sells aftermarket parts, because you got the Land Cruiser, you got the FJ, you got, I'm just saying a bunch of words. But pretty much a lot of people do pre-runner kits on those trucks, so they're always selling the parts of them. I see a lot of King shocks for sale all the time. So that is why it's easier for Toyota. But why it's easier for Ford is because they do have a platform for that kind of, that performance, where they do have extended lower control arms, extended upper control arms, bigger shocks to support everything. And it just comes out to relatively cheap because they mass produce these, so you can just take them off like most people do and do swaps, like I've documented throughout this past 6 months. And it makes it cheaper for everybody, and it makes it kind of a easier process because everything just bolts on. You don't need to weld, you don't need to do anything, depending on what you do exactly. But if most basic, you don't need to do any of that. So for performance, like I said, that's what you need. Like to just beginner to start off, you need the rear shocks. You need, you probably need you need more leaf springs, of course, unless you just completely swap it out for a spring, like the new Raptors. Or you can, and then for the front, shock, lower control arms, upper control arms, axle if you're 4-wheel drive, knuckle. I would change up the knuckle either way. But that's pretty much like beginner to get into like performance wise. Because when I was like first getting into it, I loved pre-runners, but I didn't know how the fuck they worked. They're still very confusing to me. But I hope to understand it one day, because the whole thing's pretty cool, like the whole thing. So that's pretty much like beginner to get into pre-runner. Then once you get into there, it stresses me the fuck out thinking about it, like, because there's so much and it's so expensive. So, but that's pretty much it for the video. That I was just kind of discussing like what you need, like performance wise, you know what I mean. But that's pretty much it for the video. Kind of just discussing what you need for each one and what they give you, what they bring to the table, each of them for your truck. So I hope you kind of found this video enjoyable. I'm trying to do some more informative things, so let me know if you guys want to see maybe wheels and tires. I don't know what performance for your truck. Just anything. I'll even do cars. I know a lot about cars. Well, I know a decent amount because I whatever. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, enter the giveaway. Subscribe. You gotta subscribe to the YouTube. Follow TikTok. Follow Instagram. That's it. Comment on the Instagram post, and you can enter to win some Gen 1 Fox shocks for your Raptor conversion. So enter the giveaway, guys. Woo!